Jessica Network Facebook. So I guess I don't know if you could share it on your phone if you have time, but if not, it's all good.
Okay.
Jansen Harris here with Sean Fowler. We're going to discuss Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is he a top 20 player of all time? 26 years old, 2 MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year award. We're presented by Your Future Media. For all media purposes, visit Your Future Media and Yah Socks. Sean, what's up, man?
How you doing, Jansen? Good to see you.
I'm good, man. We do this all the time. Ben's supposed to talk about Giannis, but how do you feel about Giannis, even at 26, just won a championship? Are you looking at him already, Sean, like a top 20 player?
You know what, Jansen? At first, initially, I was like, all right, he got one championship, 2 MVPs. Of course not. Like, he just won a championship. I understand for the people that thought I was crazy at first saying he wasn't a top 5 player. I believe I was right at that time, but he proved me wrong. And you know what, though, Jansen? Finals MVP, 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, I think twice. So it seems like because he's so young, it's tough to put him in that top 20 player of all time. I think some people even say Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade is, it's debatable if he's top 20 of all time. He's a 3-time champion. It's just things that I've heard. You know what I mean? So with Giannis, it's like I want to see more. So, but at the same time, I can't. It's kind of tough because for what his accolades already and what we expect him to do. God forbid he gets injured. Yeah, he's a top 20 player. Like as of right now, potentially. But I would have to make a list and have my guys out there, but I think Giannis is. I'll say he's a top 25 player. I don't know about top 20 yet, but argument can be made he is top 20 of all time already. So
I think, Sean, after next year, I'll put him in my top. I'll put him in my top 20 of all time, just accomplishing what he's able to accomplish. I love that 50 piece. That 50 piece to end things in a finals. That's how you take control of a game. I love what they did against the Nets in game 7. Kevin Durant gave his best performance, but you see Giannis coming back, doing what he had to do. Middleton doing what he had to do. Holiday doing what he had to do. Look, he took a shot at Kevin Durant and LeBron James when he said, I didn't need a former super team. And that's how we're going to look back at this.
Right.
He is so young.
He is.
The conversation a couple of years from now, Sean, if he gets another one, is he already a top 10 player of all time? Some people are trying to say, oh, look at Kevin Durant and what he was able to do. Look what Giannis is able to do, or who's the best player in the league. I think right now it's 1A, 1B with Giannis and Kevin Durant. We're looking at both of them and saying, who's the best player in the league? Who's the best player in the world? But back to answer the question, it's tough. People's lists are different. Some people probably don't have Steph Curry yet in their top 15, depending on who you ask. Maybe me or you. But if you ask some guys in the 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe not, Sean. So it's hard to even say who's the best player in the league, which I'll give Giannis a little bit maybe edge over Kevin Durant. But for me, it's really a tie, depending on the day, how I feel. But it's tough. Do you even view Giannis as the best player in the league right now?
I have him. You know what? I got him number 2. I still have him slightly behind Kevin Durant. I think Giannis, though, like you said, 50 points, 5 blocks in that game 6 silly game in Milwaukee at home. But again, to have 5 blocks and 50 points, you're not scoring 50 points from the 3-point line. Like I think he probably had 1 3 at the most, and 17 and 19, I believe, from the free throw line as well, which is an area we know he struggles at. For him to be clutch, I think that's clutch though. Because Giannis, I feel like their closer is Chris Middleton, but for Giannis to still get 50 points, not hit many threes, if one at all, be so efficient from the free throw line and be great defensively. I mean, how could you not? How could you not have him in your top 5 at least? Possibly, I have him number 2. I still have Kevin Durant number 1 barely, just because I feel like Kevin Durant. I feel like there's really no weakness on him. There's no weakness on his game. You know what I mean? Again, my thing on Giannis is like there's some weaknesses in his game I feel like other players don't have. But when you step up in the finals like that and you end up being a finals MVP, I got to give it to you. So for me right now, Jansen, I'm going to have Kevin Durant just slightly because I don't see too many weaknesses in his game. And they came from just an inch of beating Milwaukee in that game. I think it was game 6 at first in that game 6 against Milwaukee when Kevin Durant hit that game-winning shot, but it was a game-tying shot, I should say. So I got Kevin Durant slightly, though.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because I wonder if Kevin Durant, if that was considered a 3 and they knocked out Milwaukee, if that Nets team without Kyrie Irving could have won that championship, or if Kyrie Irving would have even came back. So that's always an interesting thing. But here's something about Giannis that I like, man. It's him, it's Hakeem, it's Michael Jordan, with the only 3 players with an MVP, a Finals MVP, Defensive Player of the Year award, and what was it, MVP and MVP, I think, yeah, or a Finals MVP and Defensive Player of the Year award, which is impressive. Kevin Durant's never won Defensive Player of the Year before. LeBron James has never won Defensive Player of the Year. So Giannis could say, hey, I won a championship like you guys. I haven't won multiple ones, which is going to be next on his list, but I've won championships. So I think Giannis, he's flexing a little bit. He's flex. You see him kind of doing the thing with the free throw, alluding to what some people or some of the haters said, or even some of the stuff you were saying about him showing in the past. He can't shoot, which there's still some truth to that, but he shocked me. I was off the see, I always jump off the bandwagon at the wrong time.
Right. No, I hear you, man. He showed up. 17, 19 free throws are showing up to me, and that's what he did. So hey, 50 points and 5 blocks, man. I got to give it to him. He's number 2 for me as of right now, but it's a toss-up, like you said.
Would you look at the Bucks as the favorites in the East next year to start the season out, or would you put the Nets above them?
For me, man, I always say, in order to be the champs, you got to be the champs. And the champs is still the Milwaukee Bucks. We understand that Kyrie Irving was out for the Brooklyn Nets pretty much most of the series, if not the whole series. James Harden was hurt for half that series. So we understand that if Kyrie was there, hey, if hypothetically maybe the Nets won that game, it came from an inch without Kyrie Irving. If you add another player, all-star like Kyrie Irving, to me, a top 15 player, then the Nets win. So I understand that, but at the same time, hey, you play who you play. And the Bucks, they still weren't a super team. James Harden, although if he was hobbled, he still was out there, right? He was still playing. If James Harden would have got 20 points, I'm like, James Harden, the Nets are still supposed to win, but James Harden didn't look good. And we understand James Harden, even if he's healthy, he hasn't always had the best history in the playoffs either. So for me, though, to answer your question, in the East, it's going to be a lot more talent in the East. We understand that Miami Heat added players to their added some really good players this offseason so far. PJ Tucker, some other guys as well on that team. And but I still say the Milwaukee Bucks. I think if they're going to be behind anyone, I'm going to say it's the Nets. I still have them at least in the top 2 in the East. You got to give it to the champs, man. So
I agree 100% with you, Sean. I think we have to look at the Bucks as a legit favorite to come out of the East next year. The Nets have to get it together. I thought it was maybe not a joke, but I thought eventually that team would get healthy, and they didn't do that. So I'm 100% with you, Sean. The Bucks going into next year with Giannis's hunger, with him wanting to win a second championship, I feel like they are the favorites in the East. And so further notice, I'm 100% with you. Let's transition, Sean, to 3 quarterbacks who are under the most pressure. Again, we're presented by Yas Socks. We're presented by Your Future Media and the GGC Game Room. Sean, can I get my list first?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, here's my guys. Kirk Cousins. I think he needs to bring Minnesota to the playoffs. The Madden rating, and I don't know how much account or how real this Madden thing is, or even if we should be talking about it, but oh well. We're throwing his 16th best quarterback in the NFL after 35 touchdown passes. That's how they feel about Kirk Cousins and his production so far in his career. But Kirk Cousins has lost the big game a bunch of times. They used to say, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, those 425 games, 445 on Sunday, those marquee games. He doesn't show up. He doesn't play well. So Kirk Cousins, you have to get the Vikings to the playoffs. I think there's a lot of pressure under Kirk Cousins to do that. Carson Wentz, who we thought, maybe it's the coach, maybe it's the GM. I thought it was Carson Wentz. Maybe it's the lack of weapons around him, the offensive line. He was sacked a bunch of times. No, it was Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz failed with the Eagles. We've seen Jalen Hurts, your guy, give you credit for that. He produced some type of offensive production. Not saying he's great, but look, he was a lot more competent than what Carson Wentz was. So Carson Wentz with the Colts pretty good offensive line, pretty good running back. They have weapons. They have a top 10 defense.
Yeah.
If I don't know what this injury is looking like, the timetable on that, but if he comes back, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to get this Colts team to the playoffs and to make a deep playoff run and win. Because again, that was Nick Foles' championship team and not his. Last but not least, and there's other guys who could be mentioned on this list as well too. It's hard. This third one was hard because I was thinking about throwing Matthew Stafford in it. He could easily be third on the list. He could easily be first on the list. But Cam Newton, I think Cam Newton, some people were shocked that Cam Newton wasn't that productive last year. Some people are still saying it, and in Cam Newton's defense, which you're one of those guys, is there was no weapons around Cam Newton. It was more Josh McDaniels, Bill Belichick. They didn't put the pieces around him. When there's guys like me, the other 50% who just feel he can't play that well anymore, and he should be a backup, and he's having footwork issues, and the accuracy is an issue. He's not throwing the ball where the wide receivers could catch the ball. It's at his feet. That's what I'm seeing, but Cam Newton defenders aren't seeing that anymore. And I'm not saying that to hate on Cam, because I loved Cam in college, love the stuff he's doing in Atlanta and with these kids, love what he was doing in 2015 when the media was unfairly hating on Cam Newton. I thought Cam received a lot of hate, and it wasn't reasonable at all. But Cam Newton is definitely one of those guys who's going to have a lot of pressure on him. And I don't care. I'm going to throw his name in there too. He said 3, but here's 4. Matthew Stafford. There's no more excuses for Matthew Stafford now. Matthew Stafford with this Rams team. Look, Sean McVay, you throw him in there too. Les Snead, all 3 of those guys. It's win now mode. It's deep playoff championship mode the next 2 seasons, or somebody has to lose their job and legacies are on the line. So Matthew Stafford, his name should be up at the top of the list as well too. Sean, what's your list?
Yeah, Jansen. I got two of the 4 I have in my own for the top 3, and number 3 I'm starting with Cam Newton as well. I'm a big Cam Newton fan. You know, Ace Boogie is his nickname as well. I love Cam, man. Him and Russ are my favorite quarterbacks. But I agree though, Jansen. It's still a reason. You know, I always say it depends on what type of spectrum you look at it for Cam, but he threw 2,657 yards last year, playing about, I believe, 15 games. You know, he started probably 12 of the 14 games or 15 games, you know, throughout the whole game, because he was benching a few of them, but they were going to blow out in those games. It wasn't necessarily that he was playing horrible and they thought Jarrett Stidham could do better. They're going to blow him out. And we know Cam has a history of getting hurt somewhat. But no, I agree with that, man. At the end of the day, 8 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, it doesn't look good. Although he had the 3rd most rushing touchdowns out of anybody, including running backs last year with 13 rushing touchdowns, still did pretty decent. But I agree. Mac Jones is selecting the first round for a reason. You know, if we put our chips all on Cam, you're not selecting a quarterback first. You're going to draft another receiver. You're going to draft somebody else. But they got Mac Jones because hey, Cam. I mean, you're up and down, and even as a Cam fan, you know, I have to understand that. You know, he wasn't the most accurate last year. Never been the most accurate passer in his whole career, but he always had a strong arm. You know, he was inconsistent with throwing even the deep ball last year, although I don't think they have the best weapons. But I agree with that. Cam, top 3, as far as going to next year, he's on my top 3 list as far as quarterbacks under the most pressure because, hey, it's your second year. You get a full off season. You got the weapons. Let's see what you do. You got this other guy who, you know, seems like he fits more the New England system, being a prototypical quarterback. He's a drop back guy. You know, he's more like the Tom Brady because he's not the most fundamentally sound as far as being a dual threat quarterback, I should say. So Cam Newton's number 3. Number 2, I'm going with Carson Wentz as well, man. You know, we've seen these last few years, man. He hasn't really looked the same. You know, 2018 after his MVP type of performance in 2017, he threw, I think, 21 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, but he ended up getting hurt. 2019, we've seen what happened. 2018 seasons when Nick Foles came back again, almost up and back to the Super Bowl, lost in the division round against the Saints. Didn't finish that season. 2019, he got the Eagles to the playoffs, got knocked out against the Seattle Seahawks. First series in that drive by David Clowney. 2020, horrendous. He looked terrible. We've seen other analysts as well, man, try to defend him. But Jansen would say, hey, he's not producing. Like I said before, start Jalen Hurts. He was a glimpse of light. Again, I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is the whole future. I'm not saying he's going to be a great player as well, but he's better than Carson Wentz, and I believe he can get the job done. So Carson Wentz for me is number 2. I think he had, 2 more touchdowns over his interception rate last year, I believe. I had to check the stats again. Maybe it was 16 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. I have to check again. But number one, I'm going with Dak Prescott. And the reason it's Dak Prescott, I'm not saying, I know it might be surprising, but the reason it's Dak Prescott,
He's your
Jansen,
guy.
I like Dak too. I'm not saying I don't trust him as a quarterback. No, he's a top 10 quarterback to me. But the most pressure is this. We've been going for 2 to 3 years with the contract negotiations, right? Hey, Dak, you end up getting hurt. Let's be honest about this. You end up he had a terrible injury last year. God willing, hopefully he finishes the whole season. But that was a potential career-ending injury the way it looked. Now his throwing shoulder, his strained shoulder. He's not going to play these preseason games most likely. The reports say he might be back by week 1 against Tampa Bay on NBC, the Thursday night kickoff. And if you missed basically a year and a half because you haven't really played, you know what I mean, or at least coming up to a year, I mean, it's cool. You've been in training camp and things like that, but your shoulder injury, and you're not probably going to be active until week 1. It's going to be tough. You know what I mean? We just gave you the contract. Now it's not your ankle. Now it's your shoulder. Again, I'm not saying that Dak is going to be bad or anything this year, but all I'm saying is it's a lot of pressure, and also being the face of the franchise of the Dallas Cowboys. That's a lot of pressure, especially going to the year 1 of your new contract, which is what he's probably like a top 3, top 4 to 5 player. As far as quarterbacks on the list, maybe top 3. So I have Dak Prescott as my number 1, only because of the injuries, the contract situation, and also he's the face of the franchise, the Dallas Cowboys, man. And I feel like that's a lot of pressure. Now, does he have to prove himself? Not necessarily from the quarterback stature, but I feel like with the expectations come in, I got Dak as number 1.
Sean, I got a couple more Dak questions for you. Cowboy fans would love it too. He's a 50-50 guy, I feel like, in Dallas. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know you know more Dallas Cowboy fans than I do, but do you feel like Dak deserved the money? And do you think Dak can become an elite quarterback in this league? When I mean elite, top 3 to 5 quarterback in the NFL. Do you think Dak Prescott can become that?
Yeah, man. Well, the first thing is this: when you said does he deserve the money, it really depends on the team. You mentioned Matthew Stafford in your top 3 as well as far as the pressure, or top 4, I should say, the pressure going into the season. The reason I bring up Stafford is because the Lions paid him a lot of money. Because sometimes you can't really. They're in the middle of the team. We're not really going to draft a guy because we know he's talented. So we're gonna give him all the money because we at least know we're good at this position. So with the Cowboys, are you gonna say forget that? We're gonna go draft another guy, or are you gonna go ahead and pay that? So he deserves them. The Cowboys need to pay him. He deserves the money. Now he's an elite quarterback. I have Dak as a tier 2 guy. I think he's around 8 to 10. Probably 8 to 12. In my top 10 bracket as far as top 10 quarterbacks in the league, I have him as number 8. So I think Dak is right borderline elite. He's continuing to make strides each and every year. He was on pace to throw 5,000 yards, although he only played a quarter of the season last year, his first 4 to 5 games. So Dak is continuing to get better. I think the Cowboys, ironically, I know he got hurt on a running play, but he's a dual threat quarterback still. He reminds me of a modern day Donovan McNabb a little bit. He can still move a little bit, has a strong arm. You know what I mean? Not necessarily always talked about a top 5, but he still could be a Pro Bowl quarterback. So with me, I think for the Cowboys' sake, yes, he deserved the money. But we've seen guys who are getting. Carson Wentz got paid a lot of money. He's one of the richest quarterbacks at a time, and he wasn't necessarily a top 5 quarterback, but he got paid like it. Jared Goff. So does he deserve the money? If these other guys are getting paid, yeah, why not Dak? And of course, the Cowboys need him. And do I think he can be elite one day? I do. I think it's something about Dak, man. I see this poise and I see this leadership, man. And if he can stay healthy, I could definitely see the Cowboys possibly reach an NFC Championship, and Dak, continue to get, continue to climb up that chart and being one of the lead quarterbacks. So I do see it. I do see that potentially in that.
Jansen Harris here with Sean Fowler. We're talking NBA. We're talking NFL. We're presented by Yah Socks. We're presented by Your Future Media and the GGC Game Room. Sean, let's go to our last question. Dark horse teams in the NFL. What teams you got doing well that people aren't really talking about?
Well, I got 2 teams, man. I might come up with another one, but the AFC, man, I'm going to start. I'm going to go to NFC first. And NFC, I'm going to say the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, the Cardinals started okay the first half of the season. I think they were about 6-3. First 9 games looking pretty decent. I remember before that Kyler Murray was in talks. Kyler Murray's in talks of possibly getting an MVP type of candidate. I'm not saying he was ever necessarily strongly considered that, but the first half of the season, you have the Russell Wilsons, the Josh Allens. Kyler Murray was in there because of his running ability. I say the Arizona Cardinals a dark horse team because look, we understand NFC West. To me, I think it's the toughest division in the league. You got Seattle,
Absolutely.
you got Matthew Stafford now in Los Angeles. You got San Francisco coming strong now. They're going to be healthy this year. Also adding a Trey Lance. Also having of course Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury. You know, they're starting to have more of that repetition, more of that scheme together. And you bring in a JJ Watt with the Chandler Jones, who I heard wants to be traded, but hey, they might re-sign him. I don't know. But all I'm saying is you're bringing a team who's starting to get more comfortable with each other. And I think, you know, this team, if Kyler Murray can stay healthy, I know he was banged up with the shoulder last year. I think that can be really serious, man, because you still have to count with him running the football and actually finally having a full offseason with DeAndre Hopkins, which they didn't have last year because of COVID. So I got the Arizona Cardinals as far as my NFC team. AFC team, man, this might be a stretch. I'm saying your Jets. And the reason I say your Jets is because I like what I see from Zach Wilson. Yes, they haven't played a preseason game yet. Yes, I understand it, but having Robert Salsa, I believe might be his name, the head coach. I think it's going to bring some fire in there, man. And let's not forget, even though this Jets team might be different from last year, they beat the Los Angeles Rams last year, a playoff team who made it to the division round. That was the first game the first team they beat last year. So I feel like with Zach Wilson and some of these guys coming back, man, I think the Jets might have something to say in the AFC East. I didn't want to be too predictable, you know what I mean? So I think the Jets might have something to say in that division. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I know it might surprise you, might make you a little happy, Jansen. But I got the Cardinals in the AFC and the Jets making some noise in the AFC.
Okay. My dark horse team, I don't really know if they're a dark horse team because people are always 50-50 with this team. But I think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win that division. They're going to win 12 games next year, and they're going to be a serious contender to win the championship. Dak Prescott being back, getting paid. This offense is going to be clicking on all cylinders. They have the weapons. They have Elliott running the football. I think Elliott will be healthy. I like this Cowboys team year 2 under Mike McCarthy. Even though people bash Mike McCarthy, he can't coach, he can't do this. I think the Cowboys defense is going to get better as well too with Dan Quinn there. He's brought in a couple players. Neal is there now too. So looking at the Cowboys, they, to me, could win 12 games and be a serious threat in the NFC. Don't have an AFC dark horse team. I do kind of agree with you that the Jets will be better. I can see the Jets sneaking out 7 wins, a lot of coaching, new quarterback. There's Corey Davis there, Calvin Pick. They got some players. They got some players there that I think are going to help that Jets team out. But when I look at my other dark horse team, I have the Detroit Lions. I think the Lions are flying under the radar. They have a new head coach. They have a new general manager. I think Jared Goff wants to prove he wasn't the problem. And when you look back at those successful Ram teams, he got them to the Super Bowl. So he's looking at it like this. Why am I going? Why am I getting traded for Matthew Stafford? Is Stafford really that much better than me? Is he? Where was his success at? So I think that's how Goff is going to be looking at things. So I would not be surprised if this team runs the football well, that play action pass, Goff throws the ball down the field. There's going to be opportunities for this Lions team. They're flying under the radar. I think teams are overlooking them completely because the NFC is stacked. There's a lot of good quality teams in the NFC, especially in the NFC West, how you explained. But looking at this Lions team, I think they're going to fly around the ball. They're going to get some sacks this year, and they're going to make potentially a run, maybe at 8-9 wins, maybe surprise some people and try to get that playoff berth. Maybe. So I could see that team improving. I don't know if they're going to be a playoff team like I think the Cowboys, but this is a team that they're flying under the radar, and I could see them having some early season success as well. Maybe start 5-1 or something like that. So watch out for the Lions. They're flying under the radar. There's still some questions with Minnesota. There's some questions with Chicago, and there's some questions with Green Bay and how the Packers are going to play this year with all the drama. So, yes, the Packers still the favorite. Minnesota should be a better team. Chicago, maybe, but don't sleep on Detroit coming in last in that division. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I'm just going to throw on my AFC team. The Tennessee Titans. Obviously, we know the addition of Julio Jones, a 1-2 punch for A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry is the best running back. I think we both can agree in the NFL right now. And I think this is the thing though, man. Mike Vrabel, since he's been the head coach, they've continued to get further in the playoffs each and every year, or at least have a playoff berth. You know, before Tennessee Titans is kind of like the Falcons. Oh, they got talent, but you know they're not really good. They're not really going to do anything. They're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're going to be around in the hunt. They're always going to be in the hunt. Late December, early January, they'll probably be in the hunt. But now, man, we've seen what they did 2019. So they did in 2019, being the Baltimore Ravens, making the AFC Championship game. Now they end up losing against lost last year in the wild card game against the Baltimore Ravens as well. But you added Julio Jones to that team. I feel like this: if Julio can stay healthy, man, Ryan Tannehill is in that top 10 to me as well. If Julio can stay healthy, I think it's going to be hell to pay for the other AFC teams, man, because you know either going to stay 8 in the box and try to stop Derrick Henry, or you're just going to go ahead and roll out Ryan Tannehill, who's also, I believe, a do-it-there quarterback, can move the chains with his legs. You know, who pick your poison? Who are you going to stop, Julio or AJ Brown? So I think when it comes to January, man, I can see the Titans being something.
I think so too. The Titans are a Super Bowl contender. I could see Ryan Tannehill. Can't believe I'm saying this now, but Ryan Tannehill could be this season. I could see him being a top 5 quarterback in this league.
I could see
Ryan, mainly because of the weapons around him, but I could see Ryan Tannehill with the success he had last year. Clearly, he was a top 10 quarterback, and the success he had the year before that, bringing that into this year. The Titans and Titan fans are excited. They feel like they can win the Super Bowl now with Julio Jones. If Julio could stay healthy, with A.J. Brown, with the defense playing well, with Derrick Henry continues to do what he does, maybe not 2,000 yards, but Derrick Henry, he's a durable guy, strong guy. He could continue to just manhandle people, run through you, run around you, throw you on the ground with the stiff arm. If they continue to do that, Sean, yes, this is a team that can get to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. They are a serious threat. Teams like the Chiefs should be worried. There is no guarantees the Chiefs are just going to walk through the AFC. The Titans are here. The Titans have a team that can beat the Chiefs. The way they're built, I'm scared for teams in the AFC who think they're in that contender mode or trying to get to the Super Bowl like Baltimore. I think they're a better team than Baltimore, which some people are high on Baltimore coming into this year. They're better than Baltimore. Who else in the AFC they're predicting to do some things? The Colts. Buffalo. Yeah, that's a great one right there.
I like to see
Buffalo Titans. That little race that'd be a heck of a playoff game. But right now, I have the Titans. Yeah. I have the Titans right now. As much as I loved Josh Allen and what he was able to do, and I was riding on his back last year, saying, hey, this guy's going to continue to get better. I don't know if this spells MVP for him and him taking the next step. Teams are starting to figure this out, maybe. Yeah. I don't think the Bills – I think the Bills are good. They're going to win the AFC. They're going to win the AFC East. But there's no guarantee that they're going to go back to the AFC Championship game or they're going to go to the Super Bowl. I think the Titans are that real of a team. If they stay healthy, the Titans could make the Super Bowl. The Titans could beat the Chiefs if they stay healthy. I'm going to say that. So I'm with you with the Titans on that. Serious contenders in the AFC. I love the trade they made for Julio Jones. They're trying to make it happen. Win now. Win now, Mo. No rebuild. Win now.
Win now, exactly. I like that.
Well, another show. Jansen Harris here with Sean Fowler, the final play on the Just Good Network. Comment, subscribe, follow us. Hit Sean up on his Facebook. Ask him some questions. Hit us up. Just Good Network email. But again, we're presented by Your Future Media. For all media purposes, visit Your Future Media. Socks. Go get yourself some customized socks and the GGC Game Room. Go to GGC. Go to the Game Room. Have some fun. I'm Jansen Harris here with Sean Fowler. Boom. Solid 28.